John Pierpont Morgan was born in the year 1837 in Hartford, a city known for calm streets, old churches, and steady families. His home was filled with books, trade letters, and visitors who spoke about markets, opportunity, and the responsibilities of wealth. His father, Junius Spencer Morgan, was not a man who wasted words. He believed in discipline and in the shaping of character through work, duty, and careful judgment. Because of this, the house never felt like a playground. It felt like a training ground for a future that would demand strength, patience, and precision. Pierpont grew up in a world where every moment carried meaning. From an early age he heard talk about shipments across the ocean, about loans that could help a company rise or fall, and about the value of trust in business. These conversations shaped his mind long before he understood the full world of finance. His childhood was also marked by physical suffering. He faced fevers, joint pain, and a troubling skin condition that often kept him indoors. While other children ran freely, he sat with books, maps, and numbers. These challenges, instead of weakening him, created a sense of inner toughness. He learned to endure discomfort without complaint. His father expected excellence from him, and Pierpont responded with quiet determination. When he reached his teenage years, his father sent him to Europe for advanced education. This decision changed the direction of his entire life. In Switzerland, he studied mathematics and languages. In Germany, he studied structure, music, industry, and the philosophy of discipline. In France and Italy he walked through old cities, looked at timeless art, and listened to the voices of cultures older than any he had ever known. He watched how Europeans approached business with formality and order. These years opened his mind to the idea that finance was not simply a job. It was a global system that shaped the destiny of nations. He learned to speak fluent French and German. He learned how to write clear letters that showed calm thought and careful reasoning. He learned that the world was interconnected and that the movement of money could influence the movement of society itself. He studied ancient ruins and understood that civilizations rise and fall according to the strength of their institutions. This idea stayed with him forever. Returning to the United States in the late 1850s, he entered a nation trembling with fear and division. Debates about slavery, industry, and unity dominated every corner of society. The Civil War soon erupted, a conflict that tested the spirit of the young country. Pierpont entered the world of finance at this time, starting as a clerk and apprentice in banking houses connected to his father's network. He observed everything. He saw how panic spread when confidence broke. He saw how fortunes were made through calculation. He saw how deals required precision and the ability to judge the character of men. During the war, he saw opportunity where others saw chaos. He bought surplus rifles, repaired them, and sold them back for profit. Though criticized later, this event revealed his early character. He cared about efficiency and profit, not public approval. He believed that if a deal was within the rules and produced a useful outcome, then it was valid. This direct, unsentimental thinking would define his entire career. In the years after the war, America entered a period of rapid expansion. Railroads crossed the continent, cities grew upward, and factories filled the land with smoke and ambition. But this growth was uneven and chaotic. Many railroad companies were mismanaged. Many businesses were built on hope rather than structure. Pierpont saw that the nation needed someone who could bring order to confusion. He entered the railroad business with determination. He reorganized failing companies, replaced weak leadership, and brought financial discipline to systems that had been crumbling. He earned a reputation as a man who could fix what was broken. He did not hesitate to confront leaders who resisted change. He would sit in a boardroom, look directly into a man's eyes, and explain calmly but firmly that the company would now move under strict rules. His presence alone intimidated many. He was tall, broad, and carried an aura of authority. His eyes were intense, and people often said that one look from him could silence a room. As the 19th century moved forward, Pierpont became more powerful. He learned how to influence industries without raising his voice. He understood that confidence was the most important ingredient in finance. If investors believed in stability, wealth would flow. If they doubted, everything collapsed. He became a symbol of stability. Even people who feared him trusted him, because they knew he never acted carelessly. In the financial panic of 1893, the nation fell into a deep crisis. Railroads failed, banks collapsed, Markets trembled. People rushed to withdraw their savings. Newspapers filled their pages with warnings of a national disaster. While the government appeared confused, Pierpont stepped forward. He invited bankers to his home and forced them to agree on a rescue plan. He moved money through the system like a surgeon moving instruments. He understood where the pressure points were, and he released them one by one. Most dramatic of all, he organized a private loan of gold to the United States Treasury, saving the government itself from collapse. This act shocked the nation. For the first time, people realized that one private citizen had enough power to rescue a country. Some praised him as a guardian of stability. Others feared him as a giant who stood above the law. Yet no one could deny that he had saved the economy when no one else could. His influence grew even more in the early 1900s. He created a financial empire so large that its movements affected countries around the world. He financed railroads, shipping lines, electrical companies, and enormous steel operations. His creation of the giant steel corporation, later known as United States Steel, was a landmark moment. It became the first company in history valued at more than $1 billion. People began to say that Pierpont Morgan was not merely a banker. He was the most powerful man in America. Yet he did not care for fame. He cared for order. He cared for stability. He cared for the preservation of institutions. He spent long nights studying reports, examining numbers, and dictating letters with calm precision. He demanded loyalty and honesty. If he discovered deceit, he reacted with cold anger. But he also rewarded competence with trust and responsibility. Despite his stern working life, he held a deep love for art. His collection of paintings, sculptures, manuscripts, and ancient artifacts grew so large that it later became one of the world's great cultural treasures. He loved books with old pages, languages long forgotten, and works created by hands from civilizations lost to time. His library became a sanctuary where he found peace from the noise of business. There he felt connected to the centuries that had passed before him. In 1907, another great financial panic struck the country. Banks ran out of cash. Trust companies faced collapse. Crowds shouted outside financial institutions, demanding answers. Panic spread like wildfire. Once again, politicians lacked a plan. Once again, Pierpont Morgan stepped forward. He gathered the nation's financial leaders inside his library. He locked the doors. He forced them to cooperate. He moved money from strong institutions to weak ones. He made decisions quickly, sometimes in minutes, because hesitation would have destroyed everything. When the crisis ended, the nation realized that once again a private citizen had saved the country. This event convinced many that the nation needed a central banking system. Pierpont himself agreed. He did not wish to carry the burden of saving the country each time a crisis erupted. The creation of the Federal Reserve System in 1913 was partly the result of the recognition that no single man should hold such responsibility. In his later years, Pierpont traveled often. He visited Europe, met with kings, walked through museums, and continued to collect art. His health weakened, echoing the troubles of his childhood. But he continued to study, to negotiate, and to guide the institutions he had shaped. He died in 1913 in Rome. When the news reached the United States, the nation paused. Newspapers printed long reflections. Some called him a master of capital. Some called him a symbol of American strength. Others criticized his power. But nearly all agreed on one point. When moments of crisis came, he stood firm while others fell into confusion. His legacy continued in the banks that grew from his empire, in the Federal Reserve that came to share the responsibility he once carried alone, and in the libraries and museums that now hold the treasures he loved. He showed that strength does not require loud words. It requires calm judgment. He showed that confidence is the foundation of all economic life. He showed that leadership often means stepping forward when others step back. His life was a story of discipline, order, endurance, and vision. It was the story of a man who shaped the destiny of nations through the silent movement of capital. And in the end, it was the story of a quiet boy from Hartford who became one of the most powerful figures in the history of modern finance.